Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cubcast. I'm excited for another episode. During this podcast, we sit down with remarkable heroes who've been through extreme adversity, and these heroes are going to guide us on how to conquer life's challenges. And it's going to give us confidence and resilience. But it's not only, you know, big issues, but it's also our day-to-day issues that we're going through. So guys, tune in and let's conquer our life's challenges together. We have a very special guest today who's a warrior and was dealt with a big challenge in her life, and has really inspired a lot of people around the community and around the world. Please give it up for a very special guest, Cheri Srour. Welcome to our show. Welcome to Cubcast. We're very happy to have you. How's your day going? How's everything going today?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm very happy to have you. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just the simple things about your life and what you do on it, what makes you happy and what brings you another day.
My name is Cheri and I live in Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised here. I come from the Jewish community in Brooklyn and I grew up modern Orthodox. I still have, thank God, a bunch of friends that I'm still friends with today since my childhood. So I'm very blessed about that. Um, I went to a private yeshiva and was a quote unquote normal, healthy young girl. And then when I graduated, I was on my way to college and
So why don't you
I,
why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and where your family comes from, like your whole background and everything like that?
sure. So both of my parents are actually from Lebanon. They were born in Lebanon.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, my mom came to America when she was a young child, probably about 10 years old. My dad stayed in Lebanon until he went to Israel and then served in the Israeli army
Oh,
and
wow,
then
nice.
came to America.
And you, how many siblings you have?
So I have four siblings. I have three sisters and one brother, and I am right in the middle. So that
Nice.
child syndrome is real.
Wow. And then, what school did you go to? Like you said you went to Flatbush, right?
Yeah, I went to Yeshiva Flatbush Elementary and high school.
Nice, beautiful. And it's just important to like get to know us, to get to know you more, and get your story going. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what your child was before the accident, and then what brought this whole situation?
Yeah, I was actually a dancer. Not many people know this about me. Uh, I loved to
Oh,
dance.
wow.
I was in dance class on the dance team,
Well, from
throughout
when
my
you were
whole,
younger, since you were in elementary school and everything like
yeah,
that.
since I was like
Oh,
3 years
wow.
old until I was old enough to be the dance teacher. And
Oh, wow.
I was, I was on the dance team and then I was old enough to have my own dance class.
Oh, wow.
I loved it. I loved dancing. So that was really
Wow.
my passion when I was a child. I also am very creative. I like to experiment with art and drawing. I still do that today. That I still do today. Um,
Nice.
yeah,
So now tell us about how, you know, as Sherry said, she went through this chronic, inflammatory, I can't really say the whole thing, but it's CIDP that she went through, which is a very serious, I guess, serious thing from what I heard. Why don't you tell us about how this occurred and how this even came up in your life?
yeah. So I graduated high school. I was taking the semester off before I was starting college. I was working for my father. And uh, October 2007, I started to feel very weak out of nowhere. I felt like I was coming down with the flu. I was very tired, fatigued. My muscles were aching.
You
And
said this was in 2007.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it's a long
And
time ago.
it's a long time ago. And within a matter of 7 to 10 days, I became completely paralyzed. I was
Wow.
obviously in the hospital. I was so,
From 7 to 10 days, all of a sudden things just got great. Like it took that
yeah, I
long.
just deteriorated so quickly. And
Wow.
the doctors had a very hard time figuring out what was happening to me. And while they were trying to figure it out, I was so deteriorating to a point that I couldn't move, I couldn't walk, I couldn't swallow, I couldn't breathe on my own. I had to have a traach
Oh,
placed
wow.
in. I had to
So
have a test.
what was going through your mind at that moment when you were in the hospital and things were occurring like maybe 7 days, 5 days in, or even a few days in? What was going through your mind? What were you thinking?
In hindsight, I was so young. And I was just a kid. I'm just like, okay, when's this over? I want to go see the latest movie in the theater. It's like, when's
Yeah,
my time,
fine. So you
Um,
didn't really fully get it. You were like, okay, I'm gonna get better.
yeah.
This is gonna go away, and then I'll be
No.
good. Like it's just a sickness, maybe. But
Yeah,
then you,
I didn't obviously didn't understand the full extent of it, especially because doctors themselves didn't know. So it was just more of like, okay, so this will last a month. I'll be back on my feet in no time. I'll be back to resuming my dance classes. And I did not know what it was in store for me. I ended up being diagnosed with an autoimmune neurological disorder. It's a very rare neurological disorder to a point that some doctors are just familiar with it because they learned about it in textbook and they're in med school. Um, it's the chronic version of Guillain-Barré syndrome. I'm probably not even saying it correctly. It's pretty much when the body's immune system looks at its nerves and just giving,
you said Julian Baird syndrome. It's like similar, right? That's
it's the chronic version. So,
yeah.
so some people have Guillain-Barré syndrome, however you want to say it, and they recover in a matter of a few months. I happen to have won the lotto and got the chronic version. Um,
So you're saying
so
most people recover from it. That's what you were thinking. Like you're gonna recover, and it's gonna work. And
yeah,
what were the doctors telling you like 10 days in?
um, they didn't really know because on my medical reports, everything seemed perfect. My blood work was fine. My MRIs were fine. Everything looked good. Just it showed my nerve tests showed that they were not receiving messages and they couldn't figure
Oh
out the
wow.
reason. Yeah. So it turns out that my immune system was looking at my nerves as a virus or bacteria and my immune system went into defense and started attacking my nerves to a point that they became so damaged that they weren't receiving messages and also couldn't contract.
Oh wow. So now you're a month in, maybe you're a month in. What's going on now? You're a month in and now you realize things are getting worse and
Yeah.
it's not good. Like
Yeah.
what's your feeling? What are you feeling?
So there's a couple of standard treatments and I tried the first two, but continuing to deteriorate. And at this point, I was just mentally checked out. I'm just like, it is what it is, whatever happens, happens. I'm done fighting. I was in the
Yeah,
hospital
cause you're already a few weeks in. So like you're used to
more.
this kind of life, I guess, right? I don't know.
It was more, it was a few months in,
2 months. Okay.
I had some different treatments. Um, I tried a thorough treatment and I started to see some improvement. It was very, very slow, but there was some improvement. And after a few months in the hospital, I was semi-stable enough to go into an inpatient rehab, and I was in for a few months too.
So how many months after this whole thing happened, you were in rehab? How long did it take?
So this happened in October, and I came home 2 days before Passover in April.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Hmm.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
It was a long time.
And like during this process, you're trying to cope with it. You're trying to get through day to day. You're trying to get from weekend to weekend to every weekend. Like, you want to get out of here already for the weekend to go hang out with your friends. But what's going through your head? Like, do you want to get out of here? Or like, what's your mindset?
So
Like, let's say it's January already. New Year's New Year's is coming. Like, what's going through your mind?
I was sad. I probably was
Yeah,
depressed looking
makes
back on
sense.
it.
Yeah.
In January, I had planned with my friends to go on birthright, and
Oh
obviously they
wow.
continued going,
Yeah.
and that kind of stung. I mean, obviously they weren't going to stay back. I never want them to stay back for me, but it's just like I thought
Yeah.
I'd be better right now. I thought I'd be able to go, you know. I was at a point where I told you, I was checked out. Like I was, what is what it
Yeah.
is. You know, I'm ready to go. If God
So you're
wants to take
sitting
me,
there
I'm
like,
ready.
whatever, what's going on here? Like you're going through this depressed feeling and you're like, get me out of here already. And like, did
Yeah.
you like sit and pray? What was your, like, please God, get me out of here? Or you wasn't even like that?
It's a good question. Interesting that you say that. I happen to be, I always was a spiritual person. I always felt a strong connection with God. Um, at that point, I was angry. I was angry at him to the
Yeah.
point that I stopped praying. I'm just like,
Oh wow.
okay, you don't want to
So
help me. I'm not helping you.
I'll be honest. Like for me, it was like it was somewhat a similar timing. Like I got into a car accident after 12th grade, and like
Hmm.
for me, I'm sitting in the hospital, not putting things together. I feel like we were young enough where we couldn't put things together and kind of fully
Yeah,
get what's going on.
yeah,
So I guess
yeah,
that was a start to like getting to know yourself, like your new self and what you're going through right now.
yeah, yeah. I had to mature really quickly.
So what was
Yeah,
your plan going backwards? What was your plans after high school? What was your like mission after high school? Now it's October and now all this happened. What was your
yeah.
plan?
I was planning on going to college that January to a nursing program. I really am very passionate
Oh,
about
really?
medicine, and I wanted to be a nurse. I was going
Oh,
to
wow.
a nursing program, and it obviously did not work out. Um, in hindsight, it's okay. Like I found other meaning in my
Man,
life.
man plans, God laughs. That's, I guess.
Seriously. Yeah,
So now you're a few months in, it's January almost, and you want to go to school. You were enrolled, right? And you're planning. Did you think of it? Like, oh, maybe it's possible I could go. Like, if you were telling your mom, like, is it possible? Like, you didn't even think about it. You were just trying to
no, no,
get through whatever you're going
I
through.
was, no, I was very, very ill. Although I was completely lucid and the days did just blur altogether, uh, I was fully understanding of everything that was going on, and I honestly didn't think I was making it out of the hospital. I was
Oh,
done.
wow.
College was the last thing on my
Were you,
mind at that point.
oh, okay, fine. So you're going through a lot of pain, like physical pain or just
No,
like weakness?
it's interesting because one of the two main symptoms of this diagnosis is golden pain, and I did not have. I still, thank God, I don't experience any physical pain. Um, it's just there was a lot of weakness. I was trapped in my own body. I couldn't move.
Exactly. You were trapped in a
I
hospital
couldn't
bed,
move.
just like trying to get out of there.
Yeah, and I couldn't even communicate.
And what was your family doing? What was going through their mind?
So my older sister was newly married. She had just had a baby, and my brother was on his way to getting married. So it was more
Oh, so
like, okay,
you were officially an aunt at that point.
yeah, it was,
Oh wow.
yeah. My brother was on his way to getting married, so that was also kind of my motivation. So, okay, let's get stronger so I can get to his wedding. My two
Oh,
younger
so I
sisters,
guess
my two younger sisters, I think, I don't want to speak for them, but I do think that they took it hard. My mom, my
yeah.
dad also, my parents had never left my side. My mom was in the hospital with me every single day and night. She would leave for
Oh,
an hour.
God bless her.
She would leave for an hour. My older sister would come in, or one of my younger sisters would come in. They'd sit with me for an hour while my mom washed up and came back. My dad came every single day, every Shabbat, he was there. And my two younger
Wow.
sisters pretty much lived with my older sister during the entire time.
And which
And
hospital were you in at this like which?
I was in Cornell. Cornell.
Cornell. So you were in Cornell from all the way until Pesach, or you moved to
No,
the what's
in January, I was sent to an inpatient
okay, fine.
rehab. It's in Brooklyn, and I was there until April.
Where in Brooklyn? Like what was the
Called Kingsburg Jewish Medical Center.
oh wow.
Yeah.
And how is that for you? Like now it's like your new home now and like you're moving in, like what was
So
that like?
I didn't know how long I was going to stay. So I think that kind of helped because I didn't have like an end date. So it was just like, okay, let's play by the week. Let's see how this week goes. Let's see how this week goes. And then came Passover and it was just, okay, it's time, it's time to go home. And even though
Yeah,
I wasn't strong enough, a lot of nurses and staff had to teach my mom how to care for me at home because
yeah,
I, I needed to go home. Um,
yeah. So you were at this point saying, okay, I can't really get better this like in the hospital and they don't have other treatments. Let's go and do physical therapy. And that was it. You had to just say that you're pushing yourself and getting up and trying to get back. That was like, what was your mind? It was just your mom telling you, okay, this is going on, this is going on. Let's do this and that. Or you kind of said, okay, like, do you know like, do you know what you're dealing with right now? And like, now you have to go home and live regular and
yeah. So when I was in rehab, I had physical and occupational and speech therapy every single day for 2 hours each. So that was exhausting in itself. Um, but there was a point where I wanted to quit and I'm just like, okay, I'm done fighting, and after a week or so, I'm like, okay, this is not working. So I decided to fight and still continue to today.
yeah, because if we don't fight, we just sit there and just live that
Yeah. Yeah.
miserable, depressing life. And that's not what you wanted. You wanted to live a life that you were happy to get up every day, right?
Yeah. And I really need to mention is that, uh, I still do have an amazing support system. When I was in the hospital, I specifically asked my mom to not let my friends come. I don't want them to see me this way. I was so upset with myself. I kind of blamed myself at a point and I'm just like, I don't want any cheering up. Let me live in my misery and I don't want them to come. I don't want my cousins to come. I don't want anyone to come and see me. Just let me be,
Because
And
it's a little scary to kind of see you don't want other people seeing you that way. Like it just
yeah,
doesn't make you happy.
it's not even that. It's that I couldn't even explain what was going on. So I'm just like,
Okay.
but I have like, this is pointless. Um, they did not listen. They came anyway. They dressed up in scrubs and pretended they were doctors and nurses and
Wow. So
danced
nice
around the
though.
halls and came all the time. They came all the time. And even when they went home, I was so uncomfortable with the way I looked, the way I felt, the way I was so weak and I needed so much assistance. So I'm just like, okay, I'm staying home. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going out. You want to come over. And
Yeah.
they
So at
did
this
not.
point, you don't know how, like, at this point, you don't know how to live outside of your room. Like that was part of you the last year or just whatever
Yeah.
amount of months. That's what
It was
your
more like,
life.
it was more like when I'm better, I'll leave the house. Otherwise, I'm staying home. I only went out
Oh,
to go to
wow.
physical therapy. So
Oh, wow.
my friends did not accept that and they would literally come to my house, drop
Wow.
me at my house, carry me out, take whatever I needed to help. And then I'm like, okay, you don't want to go to the movies at 8 o'clock at night, so we have to see people. Fine, we'll go at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's what we did. We would go to deal
Oh,
because
wow.
no one was in deal and no one was around. So they got me out and they still do today. I'm
Oh,
lucky.
wow. Wow. So that really got you going. If it wasn't for your friends and your family and people that
For
got you out,
sure.
who knows what where you could be.
1,000%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I like how you acknowledge that early in time because sometimes we forget about these support systems that we have. So it's important to kind of remember them and acknowledge them, which is very important.
Yeah.
And a question that we, go through in our lives, like things that these traumatic events in the beginning, now it's like you got to get used to it. Things were getting harder. And now you couldn't do these daily activities. by yourself and it was getting harder. But now that you got out of this hospital, now things are getting easier. When you did those things that you couldn't do, what was your feelings like? Did you like, how was your,
Yeah, that took a very long time. I didn't have that
yeah,
moment for a few years.
yeah,
When I came home, I still couldn't eat. I still had to use a feeding tube. I still needed help showering, getting dressed. I mean, everything from A to Z. I was as if I was a baby again. I was
oh wow,
completely dependent on my parents, my siblings, my friends. Um, I had to learn how to do everything as if I was an infant again. I had to learn how to talk
yeah.
again, how to swallow again, how to walk again, how to do everything again.
So basically, like someone in a coma, basically, it's like that's how it was. Like, it's very interesting how this happens. I never heard of anything like. It's very interesting how this all happened.
Yeah,
So,
the difference between that is that I was not in a coma and I was completely and fully aware of everything that was happening, which I don't know if it made it harder or not, but I understood everything that was going on. I just couldn't communicate because I couldn't talk.
because you were going through that, you were losing all your like muscles and all these. Wow, you couldn't
Yeah,
even like express yourself of how you were feeling.
no,
Wow.
I had a trace
Okay.
placed in because I couldn't swallow and you can't verbalize anything with a trachea.
Wow.
So I had to use like a letter board and we had to figure out a system of how I can say like yes or no or I'm cold or I need to use the bathroom, things like that.
Wow. So how'd you like cope with this? Like now you're back home and like things are getting maybe easier in a way, but like you're at home, like you have stairs at your house, you have all these things. Like how'd you cope with it, and what were you thinking? What's the future gonna be like, and like
Yeah.
how'd you say let's keep going? Like, I don't know.
So for a while, I didn't know how long this was going to last and how long it would take me to recover. Still recovering today. Um, so for a while, I'm just like, we don't need any adaptations. We don't need any modifications in the house. I'm going to get back in a few months. I'll just figure it out as it goes. My brother was tearing up the stairs. Um,
So
it
you
came
weren't
to,
thinking this negative feeling where like, okay, it's not going to work out. This is going to be the worst. How am I going to get home? Did you ever think of that? Like, how are we going to go up the
yeah.
stairs and go home? Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I had reasons towards this. And so I know that like we would figure it out, but it wasn't about like, okay, let's modify the house so that it can be easier
Mm.
accessible. It was more like, okay, this is not going to last, so we'll figure it out as we go, you
Uh,
know?
but in
So
a say, that's a positive thing, I guess, not
yeah,
looking at, oh, it's not going to work. Let's move it. Let's go somewhere else. Like, it's going to work out and
or
we're going
I,
to get through this.
or I was in denial. Can be either way.
Oh, well. But I
Yeah.
guess you were just trying to deal with your day to day and
Yeah.
and not necessarily thinking about those things.
Yeah.
And how'd you like say, oh, let's do it? And I don't know, how'd you like tell yourself, like, let's continue going every day? Like, obviously, like different parts, like a week in, a month in, 2 months, 7 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years. Now what's going on? Like, how do you, each time, I guess, is different, how to coping with it. But now that
Yeah.
you're out of the hospital, what's going through your mind? Like, you get into your bed, you're in your house, things are going like regular. What's obviously not regular, but what's going through your mind?
So I was home a lot for the first 2 years. I would go out for physical therapy. I'd come home exhausted. A lot of my friends would just come over and hang out unless we went out when it was warm outside. I was also very prone and very susceptible to getting very easily sick. And if I would just have, a common sore throat or a common cold, I would have to be hospitalized because my body was so frail and so weak. And I took that very seriously. I was like, by all means, not going back to the hospital because in my head, it was like, hospital equals staying there for months and I was not doing that again. Even though it happened a few times. Um, So I tried to be as careful as possible and stayed home a lot. And then a few years went by and I was getting stronger at a very, very slow pace, but it was still strength. Um, my sister had just graduated high school and she was going to college and she suggested that I join her and try it out and see how it was. So I went with her for a semester. I took one class, tried to ease into it, and I loved it. And I ended up
So this is
like
like how long after this whole
4 years.
situation? 4
Well,
years. Wow. So now going back even 2 years, like, did you say you're never going to go to college? Like, what's going through your mind? Like, you ever going to go? Like, you have hope
I,
on going?
I wasn't thinking about college. I was more trying to just like get through the day, be in the moment of getting through the day and thinking about
Yeah.
the next day. Um, I was very focused on getting stronger physically.
Yeah.
College
Cause I
just
guess your
was all
health
for the
wasn't so
money.
like you wanted to do everything yourself in order to go to college, but were you thinking an online program or you weren't like,
No,
nah.
it wasn't a thought at the moment. I was
Oh, wow.
just focusing on my
So now
physicality.
4 years straight, you're doing physical therapy and you're working and working, working.
Yeah.
And now you get to 4 years. What got you to decide to take these classes? What was your, like, how was your health
So
getting? Like, it was getting
when
better
I
and like,
when I did think about going back to college, in my head it was like I'm not going back until I can be physically independent and walk there and do it myself and not needing anyone's assistance. And like I said earlier, my sister was going to college and she said, "Come with me. Let's try. Let's see how it is. Let's take one class. I'll take the same class with you,
in
just in such
person
a
or,
person."
oh, wow.
So I went to class and I took one class and I loved it and I ended up enrolling and pursuing a degree.
Wow. Very
Yeah,
nice of her that she kind of like pumped you up to
she
go
pushed
and
me. Yeah,
yeah,
she did.
wow. Very nice. Well, so that must have been this big push. And then you said you took two classes, so it was a little more like more easier. You know, taking five is like a lot going on. So like took two just to get to know what school's like, I guess, college.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Because
loved
now
it.
it's
I
been
loved it.
4 years as if like it's like as if you went to high school again, like the whole 4 years. So
Yeah,
like you weren't really doing work like school work like that. So like it was probably
it
like
was
not
like
easy to get into it.
it was a nice
What was
transition.
what class did you take?
I took a health class, just a standard health
Oh wow,
101.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, like, you took these two classes, and now what got you to go further and kind of say, okay, let me go to school and decide what you want to go to school for? Because you said you wanted to go for nursing, but that was down the drain because you said you couldn't do
Physically
that.
do it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was
So
your plans for the future? Like, were you saying like, oh, I'm going to be a nurse. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. Or were you saying it's not going to let me find a different path?
no, I was at a point where I was like kind of accepting where I was physically, and then she's like, "Okay, nursing's not going to work out. Let's pursue something else." You know, I still had my brain, I still had my mind, and I decided
Yeah.
to enroll into college, and I pursued a degree in health, and I started taking psychology classes, and I loved it so much that I ended up double majoring. So I had a double major in health and psychology. And
Oh, well.
I was at a point where when I decided to go back to school, I said that I wanted to be as independent as possible. And the campus was so large. So I would have a class in building A and then a class in building
Wow.
C 5 minutes later. I was like, okay, how am I getting from one place to the other? How am I doing that? And the deal that I made with myself was that I would go to college with the intention of being as independent as possible. So I took my schedule. I went to the disability department and I said, here, this is my schedule.
What
Please
school was
change.
this?
This was Brooklyn College.
Nice.
And I said, please rearrange all my classes to one building so that I can be independent.
Wow.
Kind of messed up everyone else's schedule, but I was able to
Wow.
be independent
Wow.
and I was able,
So they went out of their way to put your classes where you, wow,
Mhm.
that's amazing. Honestly, I didn't even think that was
Yeah,
possible.
and yeah,
And
so
I guess that's guts for you to even ask them because
yeah,
sometimes you would say, oh, I don't want to get in the way. It's not my pro, like, how'd you even
So when
ask that question?
I'll tell you, so when I first enrolled, I had to meet at disability department because I needed extra time taking the test because I had to write very slowly or just I needed some kind of
Hmm.
accommodations. And they always assured me if you need any accommodations, let us know, let us know, let us know. So I'm like, I'm letting you know. And they ended up rearranging all my classes, and that was something that was never done before. And they ended up creating this program where they figure out situations like this and they accommodate. So
Wow.
by speaking up, I kind of
Oh, wow. I guess you got
adjusted
to
the
just
school
speak up because
system.
for me, I remember going to Brooklyn College and I wanted to get closer parking and like they said, oh, there's a garage, whatever. I was like, nah, I'm good. The garage is like on the bottom of the building. All you need to do is take an elevator up. I didn't know anything about it. And I went to school for 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And I didn't know anything about the elevator. Like you just gotta ask. And that's big. You ask them. Like
Yeah,
sometimes you say, oh, they don't have anything I don't need. Like it's not going to work. So,
I
uh,
always say that if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Like, what's the worst that can
yeah.
happen if you ask, you know? So they figured it out for me, and now it's an option for people that need that assistance, which is amazing.
Uh, so by the way, for the listeners, I actually never knew Cheri, but I knew about her. I just actually DM'd her on Instagram to be on this podcast. And I didn't really, all I knew was that I remember watching SVH posted that you ran the marathon and you had this condition and you still did it. And I saw this hashtag because I can. And I didn't really know. All I know is that you're an inspiring person. I heard of many different people around the community just talk about you and say, wow, this girl is unbelievable, inspiring. And I just in the back of my mind, I was like, wait, I should have her on the show. It would be perfect.
Thank you.
And when did you start getting into like this marathon and getting involved in SBH? Like how that even happened?
So I started because I can as a vet with my friends. It's so
Ah,
trivial. It's so trivial to think back on it. This is years ago, maybe 8 years
you were just
ago.
proving your friends that like you can do it. Like, I know
No,
what you
not
mean
even
because
that.
no,
No, no, not even that. So, um, I was at a point where I was accepting of where I was physically and I was okay with it, even though I looked different, I felt different, I was in a wheelchair. Um, my face looked different because of all the medications that I was on. And I would see students that I was with in high school and they would come across me and they didn't have to say anything. I just saw the look on their face that they felt so bad for me. And they were just like, don't feel bad.
maybe
I don't feel,
the staring,
yeah,
maybe, right?
just
Yeah.
that I didn't feel bad. Don't feel bad for me. Why should you feel bad if I don't? I was so happy. And I decided to, um, start because I can. And it's on my Instagram where I just remind
Wait, so
everyone
you
that,
said you were happy. When did this happy start happen? Like you said you were happy with what was going on.
yeah,
When did that
this is
start?
kind of started when I went back to school and I was
Okay, fine. So now you were
getting
back
stronger.
living your life, the things that you enjoyed and you were loving things back again. Like it wasn't just about therapy now. Now you're going to school and doing things that you enjoy and love.
Yeah,
I guess that's what, yeah.
my life wasn't fully revolved around getting stronger anymore. It was more about learning to adjust and adapt to the way that I was and trying to live life as much as possible under these conditions. So I decided to start in, like an Instagram inspirational account where I kind of remind the world that, yeah, I may have some physical challenges, but that doesn't stop me from doing the things that I do. And, uh, I may not be able to do the things that you do, but what I can do will surprise you.
Oh, so you're
So
saying
that,
like people will look down on you like, oh, this girl has this problem. Like, what's wrong with her? Like, but you wanted to show the world that just because what I look like doesn't mean who I am on the inside and what I can show the
yeah,
world. And that's what you wanted to, because I can do it. Right. Like
yeah.
that.
So I would go out and do things because I can. And
Wow.
yeah, so that's how my first post started. And I slowly started sharing my story and just slowly started sharing
And how
things
long
that I,
is after the accident happened? How many like years was that?
Um, maybe 7 years later.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah,
So 7 years later, things are kind of coming together and you're kind of realizing what you can do from all this that happened.
yeah. And doing this was a huge outside of the box moment for me because I I wasn't that girl that was like the center of attention or always the one that spoke up. I was always like a girl on like on the side that just went with the flow. And now that I was sharing my story, it was like
So you were going with
like
the
I
flow
was
when? Like before this accident?
yeah,
That
yeah,
was all
before.
okay, fine.
And
Like you
now
were
that I
like
was
a shy person, like on the side, like that type of like.
not shy, but more like I was reserved, I wasn't like
Okay, fine.
I wasn't the one that took leadership or the one that was the center of attention.
Yeah,
I'm just like yeah,
yeah, yeah.
one of the others. Um, and then now that I started sharing my story and it grew a lot of attention and I started to have this light shine on me that I wasn't really expecting or wanting. I started being asked to speak at events and
Oh
I
wow.
was just like, I don't speak at the event. I can barely speak in front of my class. Um, and I had my first time sharing my story at SVH, at one
Wow.
of their missions. And I was approached
Beautiful.
person to come on the Disney weekend as a guest. Come and enjoy, come and see Disney, come and see how the weekend is. Uh, and for those that don't know, SVH runs a Disney marathon weekend where Disney holds this giant marathon of about 40 to 50,000 runners. And, uh, SVH gathers a bunch of people from the community that loves to run and they make an entire weekend around it. And they invited me to come as a guest. And if I wanted to speak, wanted to just enjoy, just to come. So who says no to Disney? So
Yeah.
I asked my family to come with me, and my brother-in-law, Slowly Alman, is an elite runner. He runs every single day, and he said, "Yeah, I'll run the marathon. That sounds so fun." So I said, "Okay, if you're running it, I'm coming with you. Push me in the wheelchair and let's just go."
But
He's like,
what was going
"Okay."
through your mind? Oh, I can't do a marathon. That's not working. We can't do like that's weird. Like you didn't.
No, it
That
was
didn't
like, if
stop
you're
you.
gonna run the marathon, I want to come for the ride.
Okay,
So,
fine. Oh wow, cool. So that was just
that's
your thought because it's actually a big thing they do. Like a
now,
lot of marathons, yeah. But
yeah,
is
so,
that something you started? Like, is that something that you put together?
yeah, so, this was in 2016 and
Wow.
I told SVH that if I'm coming and my brother-in-law wants to run and I want to run with him. And SVH was a little bit hesitant. We don't know if they allow that. Just come for the weekend, pick it up, like just come and enjoy yourself. And I'm just like, no, I want to join. I want to be a part of it. So I'm like, let me have Disney's email. Let me reach out to them. Let me see what they say. And I reached out to them and I said, I pretty much said, I want to do it. I want to join and I can't push myself because I'm not strong enough. And my brother-in-law is an amazing runner and he volunteered to push me. What do we have to do? And they gave some pushback. We don't really do this. It's a safety hazard to the other runners. And I kind of threw in their face and said, Disney is a place where dreams come true. And this is my dream.
Wow.
So let's figure it out. Um, and we did. And we ended up being
Oh,
the
wow.
first para duo to
So
participate in the
again,
Disney
this is not the
Marathon.
first time you went to the disability office in Brooklyn College and
Yeah.
you told them, I want to do this and this and that.
Yeah.
And you were proud of what you dealt with. And you're like, I have this and I want to figure it out. And you push yourself, even though they said no.
Yeah. I find that when people tell me no, I'm just more persistent and determined to figure out a way for them to say yes. So
If someone
when,
says no, that means you want it even more.
yeah, for me at least.
Yeah, it pushes you even harder
So
to go.
yeah, so when Disney said no because of the safety hazard to the other runners, I'm like, okay, so I'll wear a light, a flashlight, or this or that, put lights on the wheels, like we'll figure it out. And we did, and we ended up becoming the first power duo to participate in the Disney Marathon.
Yeah, I guess people
And
don't get it when they don't experience any disabilities in their life and they don't accept it and they're like, okay, what are we doing? Why would we do that for that person? They're not normal. Like,
Right.
but
They don't
really,
think of it.
what's the
It's
difference?
not like,
Yeah,
it's just something that doesn't cross their mind until it presents itself. So
yeah.
that was in 2016. And
So
then
I'm
in
saying the awareness is
2017,
very important. You brought the awareness to this,
yeah,
to
for
not
sure.
only to SBH, but to also to Disney.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was in 2016. And then in 2017, we enrolled to participate. And when we were online enrolling, there was a drop down menu and now there's an option of participating as a para duo, which is so cool to see. And we did the marathon and there were other participants there that were
Wow.
being pushed as well. So that was so cool. So
Wow.
cool.
So you're like, wow, I did that. Like because of me, I got
And
that to
a very
happen.
humbling way. Yeah.
Wow. So now these people who are they part, they're not part of the SBH, or like, what are they?
No,
They're just part
there,
of other organizations that
yeah.
come together. Wow.
Hmm.
So actually, Kids of Courage, if you ever hear Kids of Courage or High Lifeline, or there's other organizations that do it in the Miami Marathon. For many years, they can push people in the marathon.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that what came from Disney, like they said Disney told them about it and then like they
I
got
don't know.
the idea from you.
That I don't
Possible. You
know.
never
I don't
know.
want to say. I don't know. But
You never know. I don't know.
after that first
Because they don't
marathon
have it
went,
so long, but they got these carriages, like what was it, like a wheelchair or you got these special, like strollers? Cause I remember seeing them in Kids of Courage. They had like uh, these big stroller type of things. I don't know.
so it's a preference. It depends on what you want to use. I happen to use my own wheelchair that I
Yeah.
purchased an additional wheel that just helps run smoother.
Okay, fine, yeah. Cause it's
And
hard to push an actual wheelchair to get
yeah,
across, like 13
yeah,
miles
we
is
figured it
crazy.
out. Yeah.
And you guys did
And
13 or 20, like, oh, it was a full marathon
did
or a half?
we did 13 miles. It was a half marathon, but after that marathon, we ended up signing up to a bunch of other marathons. We did 5Ks. We ended up doing the New York City full marathon too. That was very
Oh,
fun. Um, we did one in Jersey. We did a bunch in Brooklyn and we did it again in
oh,
2017 in Disney. And then in 2018 in Disney, I had started working out in a new facility. It's called Project Walk and they work innovatively and figure out how to get you stronger using
where
different
is that?
equipment.
Where is this?
This is in New Jersey.
Oh, you said you would go to Cherry Hill, right? Like, that's
Yeah,
where it
it's
is?
in Ontario. In
Oh,
Laurel,
nice.
Ontario. And they they use a different approach that's slightly different from the standard physical therapy. It's like one-on-one training. They work with you individually and learn your body and figure out how to get you stronger. So in 2018, we worked really hard on this and we surprised everyone. And by the finish line, I got out of my wheelchair and my brother-in-law sat in it and I pushed him across the finish line.
Wow. So not
Yeah,
only you got out and walked, but you also pushed your
yeah,
brother-in-law.
yeah.
Wow.
And then in
And
2019,
you didn't tell anybody. It was just a surprise. You didn't tell
it was a
nobody. You
surprise.
just got
Yeah,
up and they helped you up and you got up and you started walking across. Wow. I think
yeah.
I saw that video where like everyone was cheering, like what was going through your mind? Everyone's yelling and like cheering you on and getting through the finish line. What's going through your mind that amount of
At
time? Like
that moment, everything was,
how far did you walk? Like
probably a couple of, not, I was 100 feet, not so much, but it was a huge
a
achievement and
few
a
hundred
huge,
feet. Yeah.
yeah, there was a huge, progress. Um, it was awesome. After that, I was getting stronger. And that summer, I walked a very long time, but I walked my first 5K. It took me about 3 hours and I walked it. I needed
You walked the
assistance.
5K. Wow.
Yeah. I needed assistance
Wow.
because
I can't even do that.
I I didn't walk independently, confidently for 3 hours, so I would walk with assistance. Um, but 3 hours later, I did it, and then
Wow.
in 2019,
3 hours. That's not even
yeah,
like, I
it's a
feel
long
like there's
time.
some people that can't. No, but I'm saying like, I know people have done 3 hours for like a regular marathon, 13 miles, but I'm sure somewhere in the books,
Mhm.
somebody's done something similar, but someone that doesn't have a disability. So that's,
Right.
I'm sure it's somewhere written somewhere that someone did less than that, but that's pretty like impressive.
Yes, it was
I'll be
cool.
honest, I can't, I don't know if I can do that. 5 miles, maybe I would drop dead in the middle. I don't know.
Not 5 miles, 5K. So it was 3 miles.
Okay, 3 miles. Yeah, still 3 miles. Three
Yeah,
miles is, yeah, it's a
it's a
big
long,
run.
yeah, yeah. And then in 2019, um, I guess Disney kind of picked up on what I was doing within those years and how I changed the system in Disney. And I was approached by the media of Disney, and they wanted
Oh, wow.
to interview me and share my story and tell them about my Disney experience and
Wow.
what I've been up to.
You told them about the
And
whole situation, how you
yeah,
contacted them and everything. Well,
yeah. And they didn't know that I had another surprise planned for 2019. And I mean, once I shared it with them, we kind of planned it. I didn't tell anybody else. And, um, Disney 2019 was an epic experience. I participated in it again with my brother-in-law, and my family was there. My family has been coming with me every year, but they didn't know again that we had a surprise plan. Just my brother-in-law knew. Disney
I'm sure
knew.
someone knew, like you did in 2018, you might do something, you might have something for
Yeah,
us
but
in
they
29. Yeah.
didn't know the
They know
extent.
exactly what was going on.
Yeah. And I had trained for this for a while, for months.
Wow.
My trainer Daniela, she came. She became one of my best friends, and she came and she ran the marathon too. And by the finish line, I got out of my chair independently and walked independently across the finish line.
Wow. But how far was that? Like it was a longer than before?
No, it was also a couple of 100 feet, but this is
Nice.
different. I was walking independently without any assistance and not
Wow.
pushing
So like,
anything.
yeah, I guess when you're pushing something, it's like a walker in a way, like
Yeah,
something to
yeah,
hold. So now
yeah,
you're at a next step of doing even better. Wow. So
yeah.
that's that saying for yourself, that's big accomplishment. Maybe for the other people seeing around, for them seeing you pushing or not pushing, it's not, maybe it's not a big difference for them, but for you, it was such a big accomplishment.
Yes and no. I mean, after
Yes, you
that,
know.
my phone, my Instagram, everything just exploded. Everyone called
Wow.
into it. Good Morning America, A News, CNN,
And so maybe
uh,
that's when I saw this whole thing. That's when
maybe.
I was seeing it. I was like, wow, who is this? Who is
Yeah,
this? And I was like, and then
we
later on in my
somehow,
life, someone's like, by the way, that's the girl who ran the SBH. I was like,
uh,
oh wow, wow. I was like,
yeah,
wow,
we somehow ended up on ESPN top 10 and I
wow,
was just, it exploded and it was awesome.
wow,
I was getting messages from people that I have no idea who they are and saying how they saw me cross the finish line and how I motivated them and inspired them. And it was just like,
wow.
I was, I was not expecting it, but it was awesome. It was an amazing achievement. It was proof to myself to know that like I still can, you know?
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing that can stop you. There's obviously you
Yeah.
have certain limits, but there's not, these limits can be broken by you just
hmm
pushing yourself and saying, I can do it. I got it. So this is how many years, like how many years ago from now?
So that was in 2019.
Oh, wow. So not too long ago.
No, no, that was fun. It was a fun time. And then 2020 hit and it was Corona and
So
they
how
took
was
a
that with your
hiatus.
therapy? Like, was that hard for you? Like not moving around? Maybe you weren't doing the therapy like
So,
what you were before?
so till today, once I started there, I was going to this therapy place twice a week for 3 hours each. Um, And then once quarantine started, it was just like, I got so far, I progressed so much. I cannot regress. I could not take two steps back.
Yeah.
It took me so long. I won't allow it. So I figured out how to work out at home and I made
Mm.
sure that I did it every single day because like regression was the last thing that I wanted. And
Yeah.
a few months, I guess it was about 3 to 4 months that they were closed. And when they finally resumed, I ended
Because
up going back.
even a little regression is not like that can make a big
Yeah,
difference in your walking and
yeah,
your life and your
yeah.
thing. Yeah. Your
So when I
activities.
went back, I was actually stronger than when I was a few months before. So whatever I
Wow.
was doing was working.
Wow. Thank God. But even by
Yeah, thank
yourself, would you
God.
have anybody trying to help you, like your family, somebody trying to help you do the workout, or you were just doing it alone?
So I was very, very scared of getting corona. I just a common cold to been in the hospital. I can't
Yeah.
imagine what COVID could do
Oh,
to
because
me.
you said that your condition kind of got you sick quicker.
Yeah, I'm very susceptible to getting sick.
Oh wow. So you
So
don't, because even a corona, they can stop you from even like getting stronger. Like that can
of
stop you from doing your workouts. So
course. So I was very isolated because at the time my siblings were all out of the house. It was just me and my parents, and I was very strict about being in isolation and that not being close to anyone until, things got better. So that obviously took some mental toll on me. I was isolated and my siblings were together because they felt healthy enough to do so.
because
Um,
if you got any sickness, you didn't, that was it. Like it could even cause
my
something very
doctors were
serious and you don't want
so
to deal with that.
adamant. My doctors were so adamant about making sure I do whatever I can and not to get COVID. They were, yeah, very strict about it. And I
Oh
ended up
well.
getting it the following year, but
But
oh
you
yes,
got it
thank God. I
eventually.
got it. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. But it wasn't in the
Um,
beginning. It was like, okay, you
the
don't even
unknown.
now you don't want to get sick, but like
Yeah.
ever now it wasn't as like scary and it was in the
Yeah.
beginning.
It was the unknown of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Like if in the
I was
beginning, if you
being like,
got it, you would maybe die. Like, you
yeah.
know,
Yeah. That's pretty much my doctor said. Like, if you get it, you will die.
especially for you, you got sick quick, easily.
Yeah.
So now that see years after, and now you're starting to use your condition and use the things that you went through and use it in have it in a bigger perspective. What did you learn from being in this situation? And did it change your perspective on life? Like how
For
is your perspective
sure.
like changed?
Yeah. From the beginning, I appreciated and recognized the support system that I have. I still do. My family is amazing. My cousins are amazing. My friends are amazing. And without this support system, I would never be where I am today. And I always try to remind them of that and try to be grateful for that. I, when I started going to Project Walk in New Jersey, I was going 3 times a week and there was a lot of my parents to drive me. And one of my friends said like, what if I take you? What if this one takes you? What if that one takes you? And then it's like if one person takes you, even if it's once a month, it's like a relief to my parents traveling all the way to Cherry Hill every day, about 3 times a week. And then it turned into this system that every time I would go, another friend would come with me and it'd be awesome. I'd spend the day with them and I'd go do my workouts and
But
they'd
not even
hang
that.
out.
They get to see what you were doing every day.
Yeah.
That probably
Yeah.
inspired them to even go to the gym or even
For sure.
do things that they didn't put their mind to. They're like, wow, if she can do that, where am I? Why can I
Mhm.
could do a lot more and I have the health and I should be doing that. So
Yeah.
I guess that's
And
helpful
it,
for
it was,
them.
yeah, it was a relief to my parents too. Um, and I guess throughout this entire process and this journey, I'm definitely grateful for the little things that we often take for granted. I probably still do till today. Um, I am grateful for the ability to swallow. I don't think people realize how much we take that for granted or just even just like I couldn't eat for 6 months because I couldn't swallow. And it's just like, we don't realize the things that are so little, but they're really not so little. Taking a step, brushing my teeth for myself. Um,
Yes, that's
yeah,
something I tell people and people don't get it
yeah,
because
we
they
won't
have it.
realize it.
You don't realize it till you lose it. That's
We
how
don't
life
realize
is.
it
And I
in
was
time.
even talking
Yeah.
to somebody, one of my somebody that's my uncle's friend who was around the house, and he said I haven't prayed in a long time, and I was like, so what got you to pray? What started getting? Because I got into a massive car accident, and ever since then I started like realizing the gift that I had, and I was like, wow, that's
Right.
impressive. And I was telling him like it's when people lose it, that's when they see it. Like I'm noticing now,
Yeah.
like
So
people are gonna
unfortunate.
like people realize and praise God extra as the people that been through those situations. Sadly,
Yeah. So
I'm
when,
sure there are
when
people
I,
out there that do appreciate it, but I don't see the gift when you've been through that, you know?
yeah, when, when I speak at events or whatever I'm speaking at, I always try to deliver that message that like, don't wait until you're in a position to reach out to God, like appreciate what you have now, thank Him now. And then if you don't, like, you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. So appreciate it now. Don't let God put you in a position where you have to reach out to Him, Just
Yeah.
be grateful for it now.
Yeah. So I guess for the listeners, like, just remember that, you know, you have that gift, use it and
Yeah.
notice that you can do that. And I remember my brother was telling me like last night, he was saying, I'm going to, cause my grandma lives on the upstairs apartment in my complex. And my brother's like, oh, I'm taking my stuff and going because I told him I need the car for tomorrow and he couldn't use it. It was like, I was like, I'll call you a golf cart. The complex has golf carts. They'll take you up there.
Hmm.
And he has like three things. And for me, I'm thinking that way. Like he can't do it. In my eyes, I can't do it. He's like, no, what do you mean I'm going to walk up there? Like, what? How are you going to walk up there? It's so far. You have all your three things. How are you going to do it?
Right.
He goes, what do you mean? I have the health. I can do
Hmm.
that. Well, what's
That's
wrong with
awesome.
taking three suitcases up and going? Most people would say, oh, I need the elevator. I need it. Like, but I noticed it because my brother was able to notice these things because maybe his brothers didn't have it. Like, cause I
Right.
go through my own disability and maybe he saw like, wow, I can take advantage of what I have. And even you can look at the people that gone through October 7th and are in a hospital right now and lost their limbs. Like, we can say, wow, like we have that. And like all those people that have been through the traumatic event and lost a limb, lost this, lost that, you know, for us, we have it. So we have to remember that and remind us and take advantage of that.
Yeah,
But that's
definitely.
very good. A good point that you made. That's, yeah. You said now that you appreciated the things in your life a little bit more and now you're noticing it, but it didn't take you, you know, overnight. It took you all this time, 7 years to kind of acknowledge, maybe not 7 years, but whatever, many years to slowly acknowledge what was going on. Because for me, I didn't acknowledge things maybe 5, 6 years after I got into my car accident, kind of seeing the good that came from it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I used
So
to
now
think a
you're
lot
seeing the
about,
good. Yeah.
I used to think a lot about like why me, why this happened to me, like why did I
Yeah.
get this specific diagnosis at this specific time? I had my whole life planned differently in my head and just like why? And then it came to a point that I was just like, why not me? Right? Like if this didn't happen to me, my life would have been completely different. I would have met the people that I love today, that have become my best friends today, that
You're saying
I
like
got to,
that made you who you are and you
for
appreciate
sure.
what you've been through.
Yeah, my life is completely changed and I'm grateful for it. I came across individuals that are amazing. I would not have met them if I had not gone through what I went through.
Wow. So you're saying like if you went back again the same way, you would do it the same way? Like you would go back the same way you did it? Or like, cause I don't know, honestly, you've been through a lot. So I can't like say like you want that again, but like that made you who you are. So like,
Yeah,
I'm
it made
saying
me who I
what's,
am, and I would not have come across friendships and experiences and achievements if I had not gone through what I have went through.
Yeah,
So
but
I'm
I'm saying if
grateful
God
for it.
told you today and he called you up today and he said
Uh,
you can start back at 12th grade and you could do it again, would you decide to do it again?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know because I wouldn't have crossed paths with these people that I get to
Yeah.
call my friends and these special souls that have made a huge impact on my life. And
And now
it's
that
more
you,
about like trusting God and realizing that like whatever, wherever I'm supposed to be, God is already there, you know?
everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Does everything for our best. That's something that stuck with me. And that's something that will continue with, every day going through
Yeah.
my regular days. But now that you're on a podcast now, you're able to connect your AirPods and speak and hear and see and do all these things. Like now that you're, years after years, like getting better and better, what, what do you, what do you see from all this? That you're able to do all these things back then. You go back
So
years ago, like you couldn't do that. Like what do you feel?
I kind of took what I went through and tried to help others and to just show them and remind them like they're not alone, you know, we're all going through challenges and if what I do helps inspire you, then yeah, I'll share my story. Yeah, I'll share what I do. I'll share whatever I can and do whatever I can to help you because I think they're all just trying to juggle this thing called life. And if we all unite and help one another, I think the world can be a much kinder place. And that's kind of the reason why after graduating my undergrad, I took off a couple of years and decided to go back to school and pursue my degree in social work. And that's kind of the reason why I did it. It's when you go and speak with a therapist, like you can explain as much as you can, but it's so different to see someone that has been there, has been on the other side of the table, knows what you're going through, understands your dark times and your dark hole. And like, I get it. I was there, you know, and so let's work together and try to get you out of it, you know? And that's
So you're
probably
saying
one
you're
of the
looking
reasons.
back at the people that go through the situations that you go through and you don't want them to be in that situation, you're saying. Like if
Not that
somebody
I don't
maybe,
want them because what I went through made me who I am, but it's more like
mm,
you're not alone. Let's figure out the tools to help you get past this and move forward and bring
uh,
this pain into power, you know, make a message.
take it into a positivity and use it for your life in a better way because as you said, you could have just gave up. You tried to give up for a week and you're like, okay,
It's not working.
what's this doing this for me? Like, I'm just going to sit
Yeah,
here miserable forever and sit here and cry and where am I going to go with this?
yeah.
So I guess that's what you can tell the people is like, you want to guide them. Like there's a way out. There's a good way out.
Mm-hmm. There is
Or you
light
can
in
say
the tunnel.
a way in. But yeah,
Yeah, that there's light at the end of the
there's
tunnel,
light.
I'm
Yeah,
living proof of it. You know, not every time that it's not
exactly.
often that you get to see that.
Yeah, and you gotta, and you kept having hope and kept every day getting up every day, like getting up and going to Cherry Hill to do your workouts and pushing yourself every day. But what went through your mind in the hard days? Like what was the push that kept you going the next day after that hard day?
Um, I had hard days. I still have hard days. Everyone
Yeah,
has hard days,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
I think it's more about acknowledging that we're human and people experience hard days, and it's just like
It's
okay,
part of
feel how
life.
you're
Yeah.
feeling. You know, it's gonna pass. Don't ignore it. Don't bury it because it's gonna come out in uglier ways. So it's just like, hey, we all have hard days. We also have good days and they're right around the corner. So just try to get through today and never have to do this day again. And hopefully tomorrow will be a better one.
So something a few points before we finish, I wanted to say like the holiday of Pesach, they talk about Chag HaMatzot is the other way of saying, uh, like Pesach of
Hmm.
Passover. is they're saying that the holiday of the matzah, but the idea of why would we want to be reminded of the matzah that's like a scarring part. That's like, this area, this place of saying like, let's take our problems and bring them with us. Like during the matzah, it was rising and they were going through this hard time of leaving Egypt and being slaves and getting up and leaving. But why would you want to be reminded of the hard times? And something that
Mm-hmm.
you said was, that's what keeps us who we are. Like
Yeah.
reminding us of those hard times and reminding us of the matzah that we been through, that we carried along with us. And that's, I guess, the load that you brought with you, the burden that you had with you that you kept bringing along yourself and saying, I remember that time I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. And
Yeah.
it
I
reminds
feel
you of
like that.
becoming who you are.
Yeah.
And that,
It reminds
makes
me of a quote. It goes like, I'm thankful for experience darkness because without it, I would never appreciate the light.
wow. So you're saying like sometimes that you fall, you fall down, you get back up. There's a
Yeah.
song, you fall down, you get back up. You heard this song before?
Mm-hmm.
So like the fall down is going to bring you up. So
Yeah.
every time you fall, the hard times you're going through, the hard days, that's what's going to bring you up the next day, because you're going to
Yeah.
look back and you say, wow, I got through this. I'm able to get through it. And now you look back and you say, wow, I got through all those obstacles, looking back a year, looking back 2 years, looking back 7 years. Like, wow, I did this. I'm here right now. Like back then, what, like maybe 7, 8 years ago, do you think you would be where you are today?
No, definitely not. A lot of doctors, kind of wrote me off and they just said like, okay, this is her condition. She's not going to get better. This is what it is. And they're just like, okay, I'll prove you wrong and show you what I
Yeah,
can do.
yeah.
You
So
know, like I
I,
still have
I
God on my
remember,
side.
I remember maybe it was 6 years ago or five, one of those, 6 years ago, I broke my leg, my femur,
Yeah.
and the doctor the physical therapist that was seeing me, she said, by the way, just saying, make sure you use the walker all the time because you're going to use the walker for the rest of your life and there's no other way out of it. And it's possible that you may not walk. I was like, okay. I was like, sure. And that's what motivated me even more.
Yeah.
Say, wow, I was able to do that. Like,
Despite the obstacles and downfalls.
and
Yeah.
these people are going to help you even more.
Yeah.
So a very, important question I like to ask, and throw it in. It's like very important, and we should all ask this question. It's a great question for people who've been through what you've been through. But through your experiences and through your adversity and through everything you went through, what can you tell, some of the listeners that have been going through, day-to-day issues or even something similar that you've been going through? What can you tell them? What kind of advice can you give these people?
I would definitely say that first off, you're not alone, even if you feel alone. And even if you tell yourself that you're alone, you're not. And although people don't understand, no one can truly understand what you're feeling and what you're going through. There are people out there that are there to support you and are there to encourage you and care for you. And I think we're all going through this thing called life and we're all just trying to get by. And if you have even an ounce of hope or an ounce of belief that you can get through whatever you're going through, just go with that ounce because that ounce can turn into something greater and greater and greater. And as long as you believe in yourself or have even someone, just one person that believes in you, it can change everything. It can. I can share one small story before we go that can just prove to you how much support can change everything. When I decided to walk the 5K, I walked it with my trainer, Danella, and the owner of Project Walk came to the finish line. And the finish line was this huge crowd. Everyone knew that I was walking the 5K, and they all came to shout and cheer and support, and we have an amazing community, and it's something that goes very underrated. And the owner was at the finish line, and she turned to my mom and she said, if everyone had the support like Cheri does, everyone would be able to get up and walk. And I think that's so important to remember that there are people that love you and support you. Just sometimes, as bad as you're feeling about yourself, sometimes it's okay to let them love you, let them care for you. That's why we're here, you know? And I hope that someone just sees,
And some people might not feel the people around them. They're just feeling lonely and they just not getting out. Maybe even some people, maybe they don't have the best support system like you, but they have their neighbors. They have people, I'm
yeah,
sure. I remember my physical therapist was telling me, she said she was in this depression for a few years and her neighbors asked her, she said, the car's not moving. Where's the car? She didn't move. Nothing's leaving. Nothing's doing. They walked into her house. They bought her groceries. They cleaned her house, and they're telling her to get up. And she told me, why would they do this thing? Why would they do this for me? And she said, maybe because I trained them a little bit and I gave them tips in life. But even your neighbor, when they see you're not, and maybe her community is not like our community and shouldn't have a support system like some people do. But there's always something out there that's going to help you. And even her
yeah,
neighbor helps her. But sometimes we have to open up our eyes and see those people that can help us. And we could even ask a stranger to help us. Like
yeah.
sometimes, like I have a hard time
It's
and I
a
needed to
fun.
carry something. I remember
Yeah.
going to the mall and I couldn't carry myself. The rain was crazy. And like, I was like, how am I going to carry my stuff to the car? It's impossible. So I asked the policeman, I asked the guy in the mall cop, like, whatever. He said no. He's like, I can't do that for you.
Mhm.
And he was being not nice. So there was a guy standing right next to me. I was like, can you help me out? Random stranger. And he helped me to my car in the pouring rain and he brought my stuff to the car. And I thanked him with so much, like, I was so thankful because a random guy that didn't even know me is going to help me. So, and even if we don't have this support system, there's still things out there. We can call out for help. We can call, as you said, the Brooklyn College had a disability office that helps you, or even contact Disney Marathon and just, keep pushing.
And if there's things that you are challenged with, there are other ways to get around it. There are other things to do. There's more to life than just focusing on what you can do. But if you put all your energy on what you can do, you realize how blessed you are.
Because I can. I remember saying that, you said that, and it's like, because you can.
Do
And
it because you
maybe
can.
sometimes
Yeah,
you can't, but there is a chance that you can. There is a little bit. You can run the marathon, but you can do a little bit. You can do this, but you can do maybe a little bit, but you can. There's always ways to do it, but of course there's what's something that you can't do?
I've always figured out a way to do it. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to surf, and I physically can't do it the regular
Oh
way. So
well.
I went to an adapting surfing event, and I
Wow.
surfed. And I thought I
Wow.
couldn't drive, and I took some classes and I got in the dash into my car and now I'm driving. But
Yeah, I remember the first time I called you, you were in the car, and I
yeah,
was like, wow, this is amazing. Like you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And
definitely.
I guess that's what you can tell the listeners is like,
Yeah,
you can do it.
I think we're at a time in society and a time in this era where there are so many ways to do things. They might not be the typical way, but there's always a way to get things done and do the things you want to do.
So remember, guys, this very really inspired us a lot and told us a lot that we can do things. And let's really take from what she, taught us today and put into action and realize that we can do things. So maybe one of us can do things that we, never thought of. Try it now. Like for me, after this podcast, I'm going to go and try something I haven't done because Cheri taught me a lot and kind of inspired me. So thank you so much for joining us on this show. I was going to say
Thank you
thank you
for
for having
having
me because you
me.
brought me into something amazing, but anyways, we really appreciate you for having you today and having that you made time to put this together and come out here and, even through all the, the whole getting on this program online and meeting it was difficult. We had to figure it out, and we had patience, and you had patience for me especially, and we really thank you for coming, and thank you for giving us a lot of inspiration over here, and thank you again, and I'll take this with me forever.
Thank you. Thank you
It
for
was
having me.
amazing, and I really appreciate all this time that you made for this.
Thank you.
But anyways, have an amazing rest of your day, and only the best. And keep pushing, keep going, and only the best.